opportunity for you. Make your contribution, let them know. Democracy in Spice Isles is alive and well. Ask you questions, sing and beat you drum. Make you suggestions, encourage them on to walk the straight and narrow in the land. Politics, religion and economic issue, regional, international, spiritual issues too. Agricultural, environmental and trending to subject matter. We fear none, we back down. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the land. God we freedom, jealous and they in Cuba. Russians and Chinese and lucky.
Welcome to our program this afternoon. That's our midweek program. Welcome to the program. Always remember to share, like, and subscribe to Studio Galaxy 473. And today, the topic we're going to speak on, you are not the price. You should choose the price. We are operating in Studio Galaxy 473 in Conferral. And we are the Galaxy Equalizers. And we provoke discussion on these topics. We are concerned. And we believe that we must solve our problems. The challenges that we face in Grenada, no one is responsible but us. We must not be afraid to discuss those issues. We have enough highly certificated people in Grenada, and we must provoke them to practicalize their certification. Today we are addressing the issue with women. It's very difficult sometimes for men to speak about women. Normally we don't want to anger our women too much. Sometimes we quarrel with them. Sometimes we fight with them. Sometimes we abuse them. Sometimes we are accused of abusing them. And then you have a lot of drama and a lot of choreographed acts in our country. But I believe we must spend more time discussing issues that is relevant and pertinent in our country. And one of them is, women, you are not the price. You should choose the price. And I'm principally targeting young women. Not mature women already that understand. The age of consent in Grenada is 16 years. The age of marriage is 18. That is the average age in the world. In the United States of America, most countries is 18. In some areas, I think it's 21, one or two areas. In some areas, if you under 18, 17 to 18, you have to have written authorization from both parents. In some countries in the world, most countries in the world is 18 years, around 18. In Iran, it's 13 years. Some of the Muslim countries tend to delve lower, 15, 17. Iran is 13 years. Now, who is responsible for educating, for informing, for culturing our daughters to understand that is not the price? They must choose the price. Our women today in Grenada are relatively well educated. Or perhaps I should say they are better relatively educated than the men. There is a number of authorities that would say men at risk, the men ducking, the men hiding, all sort of language like that. And because of the incidence of abuse and sexual abuse involving relatives, incest, even fathers and the daughters, that sort of cow down the men assertiveness more in discussing these issues with the daughters. But all women are better educated in terms of book knowledge than the men. In yesteryear, and in some societies outside of the world, parents are deeply involved in the choices or in the relationship that the daughter have. The parents are deeply involved. They practically help choose the man for the woman. But in our society in Grenada, the role of the parents is insignificant. Sometimes you just hear your daughter a man. Sometimes when you hear your daughter a man, she barely big. Sometimes she get to school, she get pregnant. And some parents accommodate her and say, well, I like my daughter and try. But they have no say in the man she pick up or the man that pick her up. So I believe, based upon that, it's important that our daughters are better cultured, better educated, and they should understand that they are not the price. Too much of our young women in Grenada believe them is the price. You're not the price. You should choose the price. The man is expected to be the aggressor. The man is expected to go after the woman. Sometimes he is pushed. Some men are very shy. Sometimes you get a hint that this girl kind of like him. But generally, the man is expected to go after the woman. And you may have a lot of men going after the woman. Some men go after the woman don't even know they're coming after. They get extra nice and generous and responsive and courteous and humorous to the woman. And sometimes the poor young girl does not even realize that the man is in front of hole, hunting her, waiting like when a man could come out. You don't know. She don't know. But obviously the parents ought to know. And parents should culture our young girls. When a girl reach the age of puberty, I think, I only pronounce that word, 13, 14, 15, remember the age of consent in the country legally is 16. So at what age parents start to have dialogue with their young girls, with their daughters? It makes no sense that the parents hiding their head in the sand and you see your daughter reach her age and all the men in the community know she ready to pick cotton, she's shaping up. And even if those who knows that they cannot dare, they cannot cross that ground, still they appreciate the pheromones, they appreciate the look of the woman. And just by her walk, the men would know that this girl is ready to be harvested. Now, sometimes we use words like she ready to pick cotton. She asks if she picking cotton already. Sometimes you hear men say she ripen green skin. This language is in our society. So we are doing an injustice to our young daughters if we don't help to culture them, to educate them, to prepare them to choose the price and to make them recognize that they are not the price. Our women, sometimes I'm a little taken aback. And sometimes I say things about women that get me in serious trouble. I was with a group of women the last time, well-educated women, and I said 80 to 90% of the women in Grenada are marriage material, genuine women, very nice women, and good women. But they're not smart. And that caused a number of women to get upset. I had to explain to them that they are not smart where women and man spousal things really is, from my perspective. So I believe parents have a responsibility to have discussion with their young daughters. Remember, when a girl reaches the age of puberty, hormones start to jump up in her body. And she starts to see the physical changes that taking place. And that is a general rule. I'm not being specific. Everybody, you're going to have different situations. The girl tends to be more conscious of her looks and herself and the projectiles, her projections that coming out. She might spend more time in the mirror. She more conscious of how she dress. Unlike the man, when the boys reach that age, they want food. They just want food. They develop a hunger for more food. So sometimes they're not even that conscious of the girls their age has gone to another dimension. Some of the older men would recognize it. But I want to believe that around that age, the mothers, the mother of that woman or sisters or aunts or the elder ones should start to have discussion with this girl. Discussing sexually transmitted disease. One of the issues, and today we have the telephone is an extension of the university, an extension of the library, an extension of the of information. To find out about sexually transmitted disease and discuss with your 12, 13, or 15-year-old daughter about sexually transmitted disease. Because hormones is jumping up in your body. And the men outside, they are hunters. And you have to understand, a hunter would use any method possible. You know, there is no depth in his pocket he would not go. In yesteryear, men used to go to other people to write letters to woo the woman there. In the ancient time, parents would have asked them if you could cut a wood knot. We used to joke about it. Because the parents was concerned about security. Would you able to take care of my daughter? This phenomenon is no longer on the table. The man that might be going after your daughter have no intention to take care of her financially. And this must discuss, because some women seem to be so angry in later years with men that the words that come from the mouth is harsh, cruel, full of bitterness and resignation and hate, simply because they was not prepared for the area they enter in. Gone are the days when you expect the man to take care of you. And that is why it's so important for the woman not to believe that she is the price. She must select the price. And we cannot have all these educated, highly certificated parents that ought to know better. And you have not culture, you have not educated, you have not prepared your daughter for getting involved in relationship or saying yes. You have not explained to them the weight of yes. That's your responsibility. When a woman say yes, some men might interpret that to having a deed and a plan. I wonder if we could refer to it like that. Some men might interpret that simply yes the woman says to them as if they have a legal document, a deed and a plan. Because they want to own the woman. They want to give her instruction now. Where she should go, where she should not go, how she should dress, how she should behave. In fact, they become more demanding and more strict than the girl's parents. That girl is like a lamb that walked into a slaughterhouse. Let me repeat that. That woman is like a lamb that walked into a slaughterhouse. She did not understand the value of her yes, or how the man interprets the yes. And how do you expect her to know? She has reached a stage where hormones are jumping up in her body. She has been showered with compliments. For the first time, she seems as somebody who could do no wrong in the eyes of the men. Sometimes we say, God take his palm of his hand and make you. There is no other like you in the heavens. You look as a sapodilla that ripe in the shade. Your wish is my command. Some people would say to, I'll put you in a glass case and just pay homage to you. We will bring smile to her face. Even if she have ring in her nose and she look like a pig, we would tell her, you looking well nice, mama. Mama, you looking well nice, you looking good. All of a sudden, she believes she is a queen. She believes she is the prize. And she forget that we are just hunters, telling her what she wants to hear. Men could be extremely generous on the first occasion. No amount of money you would not give a woman you really want once you have the money. But after that, you could get mingy and stingy. And I think it is not fair for young girls to be so unprepared when the parents fail to educate them. And I challenge women. And you notice I'm saying women, because I want to be as practical and realistic as possible. More than 60% of our households are led by women. And even the areas where men lead, where the daughters is concerned, the man might provide all the financial support she wants. But he may not be mature enough, or he may not be wise enough to sit down and discuss this topic with his daughter. And there are certain instances based upon the aggressiveness and the relationship of the woman, he would just leave it alone. But if you women is as educated and certificated as you claim to be, you should do more to educate your daughter that she not the price. She must select the price. There are too much young girls end up in a relationship, and it seems as if life shock take them. And then they get bitter. When you hear young girls, 18, 19, 20 years, telling you man bad and man no good. 18 years. Some of them have had encounters already with several men. So obviously, those diamonds start to turn to gold and brass. And don't expect that if your diamond turn to brass, they will be as invaluable as when they were diamonds. But you came to the slaughterhouse very ignorant. You did not know better. So nobody could blame you. But you now reach an age where you should educate your daughters and make her wiser. Not because you could do it, you should do it. Not because you are independent and you are your own woman. You should do what you could do. You should better understand the consequences of what you do. And we have to train our women to understand, our young women. I'm not talking about the old hen. I'm talking about young people who are likely to enter relationships. That you have to be careful with your yes. Because sometimes the man take your yes for a legal document that you see trouble to back out from. A lot of the instances of abuse that we have is because some of the male believe that the woman's yes is a legal document, a legal contract that she cannot back out from. And a lot of our young women, they believe that the yes is a joke. They don't understand the weight and value of the yes. And that is why I believe parents ought to do more to educate the young women in our society about the power of the yes. And to make them understand they are not the price. They have to choose the price. You may have a lot of suitors, or you may have just one. Particularly if you do not move around much. You don't have much exposure. And maybe the amount of hormones are jumping up in your body. But you have to realize that you have to choose the price. You not the price. You have to choose the price and prepare perhaps whether you could live with that person for the next 100 years. We don't discuss time because we believe that it's a short relationship. This thing is about 6 months. Even when women have children, they have a child for a man. Well, you didn't plan the child. The body was jumping up and the man was aggressive. You had sex and you get pregnant. A lot of the relationship break up from the time you get pregnant. Because the man might believe all the suitors that was going after you was actually picking cotton. And that is a dangerous thing for a man. All this smile done. All the time he's telling you your wish is his command, all that fade out. Now we hear a different language. Blow your nose where you catch your cold. A massive sudden turnaround that could have serious psychological and negative impact on a young person who is honest. Sometimes she never had another relationship with any of the people who was going after her. But the man don't know. The man don't know that. And sometimes men break men because they just have to give this guy an impression that you're going after his woman. They just have to give him the impression that you're going after his woman. And that could cause a lot of problem because he believes, oh yes, is a legal document. He does not understand that it must be a relationship of symbiotic, mutual benefit. And she could walk out of that relationship whether he likes it or not. That is not discussed. There is no discussion with the male and the young females about that. Even the older males. Sometimes they use the clout, the weight, the size, the fact that they might believe them is a don to intimidate the woman. So parents and elders in the house, bigger brothers and sisters, must not be hesitant or afraid to hold discussions with the young daughters. Today we're speaking about the girls. The young daughters in the house, to inform them that they are not the price. They must select the price. They must select that suitor, that hunter, that person that is coming after them based upon what value that they have or what they expect and how that person could enhance their life and whether that person is compatible and whether that person is going where they're going. And yes, we might say, women might say they're very independent and they know they don't need the man's money. But what happens if you're pregnant and you cannot work? What happens if you get sick? Would that man be there for you? These are some of the questions that you have to ask yourself. And these are some of the questions perhaps the parents might discuss with you. What happens about sexually transmitted disease? What happens if you get claps? What happens if you get syphilis, gonorrhea, herpes simplex? What happens if you get AIDS? The socially transmitted or sexually transmitted disease is on the rise in Grenada. In the Caribbean, they have a high rate of promiscuity. So obviously, you're more likely to have people coming down with some of the sexually transmitted disease. And you reap havoc on your body. Remember how much women is bold enough, or parents ever discuss that with a woman, that you want to enter a relationship and you start to talk about sexually transmitted disease with a man and say, well, since you're older than me and you have been very promiscuous, would you take a test to see if you have AIDS? Do you value your life enough that you enter a relationship, and do you show any concern whether the individual you're going to have sex with is sexually contaminated? Would parents tell a girl she should never walk in the room of a man? If you don't want to have sex with a man, don't go inside his room. Don't go in his room. Do this discussion take place? I don't care if the man is an angel or not. If you're not prepared to have sex with a man, particularly if he's a young girl, that's new to you, you don't ever enter his room. The male room is a lion's den. The male don't have no stomach or patience for insubordination or stupidness when you enter his room. He ready like Freddy. And you better prepare to be submissive. Every trick in the book will be used to have you in his bed. How do we prepare our young women? Now, if the parents refuse to have any discussion, refuse to culture, refuse to prepare our young women for that, and you notice I put in emphasis on young women, because by the time you're older, you would have had these experiences that might make you very bitter. And although you end up in a relationship, but you never give up your all. I always encourage people, if you're in a relationship, you must put both foot in the center of the pond. But if you're not prepared, you don't know. You will let somebody drag you in the pond rather than you willingly go inside the pond. So I believe this discussion should take place. Another reason and justification for a woman understanding that she's not the price, but she have the power to choose the price. How long you want that relationship to last? If you're going to enter a relationship and the relationship involve in cohabitation, procreation, because that is why man and woman meet, to procreate, to make more. The number one reason why the hormones in your body is so strong and it leads you to the male is for procreation purpose. We want to propagate our species. We want to make more. And when you're in the company of the man, that's one of the reasons. I think the only 2 or 3 animals that have sex out of the heat period, because there is a period when the woman could get pregnant. 7 or 8 or 9 days, I don't know much about it, I'm not a woman. Just as any animal, they come on heat. But with women, man and woman, monkey, and I believe the dolphin, they can have sex anytime. They have sex perhaps to strengthen the social relationship. And as a result, that's one of the reasons they get more territorial. They feel ownership. So the girl must know that. Sometimes you watch animals. I was saying to a woman, if a woman going to I think most men would like to have their first date in an area where they could bring the woman at their home. Because when you walk in a man's room, particularly if he is a good alpha male, you do not have much control. You do not have much control. If the man goes to your room, the man might be more circumspect. The room might be more neat. He might watch it and feel he don't want to dot your sheet. He don't want to move your mat. He may be cautious. He don't want to anger you. But when you come in his room, it's a whole different story. And he will use any trick in the book to get you in the room. So I say these things because sometimes when you listen to some women's story, you feel sorry for them. Because what they're blaming the man for is a joke. Some people of yesteryear would say you can't put salt to hold fly. Fly fast. You're going to fall in salt water. But if you put molasses and honey, definitely you're going to hold fly. So because man is a social being, and man will have sexual intercourse, they'll cohabit out of the heat period. So there are periods when a man would have sex with a woman and she would not get pregnant. And there is a window when she would most likely would get pregnant. And as such, as much as the parents know, they should educate the girls about all these things. Sometimes you're trying to woo a girl and she's concerned that she could get pregnant. And I think most women, they don't bother about disease. They forget you have herpes simplex and AIDS and gonorrhea and syphilis and all kind of things. They forget that. They're more concerned that they don't want to get pregnant. And then the man quickest answer, I have a condom. Don't worry. Don't worry. A well equipped. Sometimes you have more than one. And I say a condom could only protect the man. Condom cannot protect woman. Only could protect the man. It's like saying you shouldn't drink and drive. You say I go drive careful. I will just take one or two and I go drive careful. But we have to also prepare these relationships because it's very important for the man and the woman to have a union and to have a successful life. I say to young people, you should prepare for 100 years. People are living longer these days. So when you're in a relationship, you should start to plan for 100 years. It's better. And if the woman is expected to have children, and that's one of the reasons you have couple, procreation, then obviously there are period of time she would not be able to work. In Grenada, I think a woman will be on maternity leave for 3 months. And businesses, if it's big business, they will tolerate you. But forget what the loss is. Because some business people, you need an extra. They cannot afford for you to stay 3 months out of the business. By the time you come out from maternity leave, you have to go to another job. If you're in government business or big companies, you will be tolerated. You're in a little shop where a man have 1 worker or 2 or 3, or you're doing some work as a maid in a house. By the time you get pregnant, you lose your work. So it's very important that your partner, and that's why I say you must choose the price, would understand that and prepare to rise to the occasion. And if you shack up with a man or marry with him or he visiting you, you have all this kind of relationship. We have some tourist relationship. The man visit the woman. He don't consider himself living with her, but he's sleeping with her regular. So you have all these kind of relationship. And the woman must be prepared for them. And if the relationship is long lasting, when your child come around, you want the best for your child. That is why people of yesteryear used to say, I don't want what happened to me happen to my child. They want better for the children. And you would have to educate that child to understand that now you have a family. And what is important now is your home. And maybe women have to sit down and try to explain to the man. Because we men say the man is a giver and the woman receives. Don't ask me what the man mean by that. You must know that. The man is a giver and the woman receives. So if the man has disease, he'll give you. And he prepared to give you money too. But if it's just a question of giving you money and not for the development of the home, you see, it's no longer about giving the woman money. It's about the development of the home. So even before the woman enters the relationship, she have to understand what her yes means, the weight and value and the psychological impact and the economic importance of her yes. And women of Grenada, you are in the best position to educate your daughters. For the first 12 or 13 years of that child's life, the mother spends more time with her. And whatever experience you would have had that is negative, you should culture and educate your daughter to prepare for them. I'm not saying she's going to totally avoid them, but she must prepare for them. If she prepare, she may not know the mistakes. She may not make the mistakes that you make. Or even if it happens, she might be more mentally and psychologically prepared because there was some degree of expectancy or anticipation. And she may be better prepared for it. We always have to do better. I observe too much a relationship that is bitter and pregnant with guilt and anger and resignation. And when you speak to young people, young girls, you say man wicked and man bad. And if they have you in their confidence, they will give you the reason why. And then you watch them and feel pity because they was not prepared for what they were getting involved in. So I believe our women in Grenada is educated enough. And they would have had experience like that. They would have had broken relationship. Many times. and perhaps they should better able to educate. The age of marriage is rising. Maybe I don't know if it's about 35 for the man or 35 to 40 for the man and maybe 30 to 35 for the woman or 28 to 35. Very rare. You hear people married young, like 19 and 18 and very, very rare. In yesteryear, when I was younger, you had more instances of people married in their early 20s and having relatively successful life. Now, most of the women who get married, they have changed a couple man already. So what you find is some experienced women that getting married. And in some countries, you don't even have to wear white dress and veil again, because you live in a community and you might have a couple relationship in the community, you know. And in our society, if you have a lock that a lot of keys could open, you may not want to put that lock on your door, because too much keys could open that lock. But if you have a key that could open a lot of lock, you consider it as a master key. And people like that key. Maybe it's unfair, but we ain't dealing with right and wrong now. We want to be practical and realistic. And we want to better position our young people to face the challenges outside there. And prepare our women that is not the price. They must choose the price. So a lot of the regret, the anger, the resignation, the bitterness, and the hate that you see coming for men is because these women thought about the price. They did not choose the price. And their bad decision or their immature decision or their decision out of ignorance that they are not to be blamed for is like a disease where they're angry and they're upset permanently. The worst is some liberal women that have no success story where man and woman is concerned. No sex, they are liberal. They would have had one or two relationships or several relationships that come to naught. Even if they have a child in it, involved in it, it's war between the male and the female. And they are in position of power or clout. And they propagate that bitterness in our society without advocating and helping the people, the younger people, to make better decisions. The sexes seems to be on the warpath. The males and the female, the male and the female seems to be on the warpath. Too much of contention, too much of bitterness. Even when they're living together, they seem to be carrying old wounds that is easy to refresh. And they squandering opportunities where they should live pleasantly and in harmony, while they educate the younger girls to make wiser decisions, to let them know you're not the price. You must choose the price. And in everything, we must look at the economic importance of it. When you have relationship that understands that what is important is the family, my home. When you have relationship that understand the power of forgiveness and the power of love, and rather being bitter and angry for things that went in the past that we could never correct. But now we must work together. So we provide a better life for our family. So that our family will dream and better understand. And the man and the woman could sit down and discuss some of the challenges of relationship with the boys and girls in the house. And that would be more powerful. It would be better. And we always have to look at the economic importance of relationship. Because in a lot of instances, the man and the woman in the house, so much of contention, so much of bitterness, so much of anger, that economically they are not pulling their resources together and work together. It seems that they're preparing for divorce. You must pay attention to some relationship. The man and the woman look as if they're preparing for divorce. Well, if you work together, there will be more in the kitty when you divorce. But if you're preparing for divorce since you're together, you're preparing to break up, there will be very little in the kitty. And it's very discouraging because as the average age for marriage rises, because young people do not envy married people. There are so few success stories. And even when it seems that the story is successful, when they speak as if they speak with regret. So young people afraid. You hear the males say, if he walking, don't fix it. They with a girl 10 years. She have a child. And they say, if he walking, don't fix it. They don't want to get married. They're afraid. They say that relationship going good. Next thing we fix it and it's spoiled. How could we develop a society like that? How could we develop a society like that? Now, if you don't want, some people want the girls to get married, but they don't want the boys to get married. What sort of nonsense is that? And quite a lot of the men, they're afraid. They're afraid responsibility. They're afraid to discuss marriage. They're afraid to get hung. All kind of things they're afraid. And as more and more religion seems to be diluted, then they don't seem to have the urge to live together. Women readily live together with a man. They don't marry, they never even one day ask the man to get married. And the man's smart, he's not going to church. He's not going to church at all. If you hear him on the road, he's preaching about God, but he don't go to the church. Because he believes if he go in the church, he might end up getting married. And sometimes I say the women not smart. So the man don't go in, you don't force the woman to go, the woman not going to. And they grow up the children out of the church. And it's a church that encourage marriage. It's a church that say a man should love his woman as he loves himself. That is a serious thing. You know? And the woman should respect the man. A man should love the woman as he loves himself. And the woman should respect the man. But what about the children in this relationship? Because if the boy grow up in the house and mommy they married with no woman, when he grow up, some women telling the son, don't marry. One man I knew used to say, needles and pin, needles and pin. When a man marries, trouble begins. I don't agree with that. I said to a guy, if you're living with a woman, you might have more sex than if you have 5 women outside. So if you have no intention of leaving the woman, why not put your 2 foot in the pond with the woman? And I say that to some women too. Why don't you go to church? Why don't you help? There's so much pressure these days on relationship that all of us need help with the relationship. And one of the ways you get help with the relationship is the church. Is the church that encourage man to have one man should have one woman? When you go to Islam, which is having more and more influence in our country today, Islam encourage a man, you don't encourage him, but a man could have 5 women. 5 women, 4 or 5. And the Quran says you could beat her. You could admonish her. You could deny her your bedroom. And you could beat her slightly. That's a whole new culture. And the influence of Islam in our society today is growing. And it is almost a good harvesting ground for men. So that's why I say sometimes our women don't smart. They're not very smart. Because if you're in a relationship for a very long period of time, you should sit down and start to ask questions about that relationship. Are we strengthening this relationship? Where are we going with it? Would we like our children to get married? Would we like our daughter to stick with one man? Would we like our son to stick with one woman? Would we encourage them to avoid sexually transmitted disease? Because you have a lot of sexually transmitted disease and you have growing incidence of sexually transmitted disease in Grenada. I don't think they get a cure for AIDS yet. And our medical service in Grenada is not of the best. We are not the best in the Caribbean. A number of countries in the Caribbean that have a better healthcare system than us. And when you look at Grenada, it seems that we have a dwindling economic situation. The economic situation in Grenada is dwindling. The middle class is shrinking. The average public officer, when they retire, they become the new poor on the block. And marriage is breaking up. Well, it doesn't happen, much less to break up. So you are weaker. The family structure in Grenada is weaker. And when you have an economy that is going down the slippery slope, it is worse in the long run for relationship and family life. Strong families is very important in developed countries. In Grenada, we have the most home for the age in Grenada. And there's a lot of people in Grenada, elderly people, who are struggling for themselves alone because their children so poor, like church mice. The children prefer not to go and see them because they can't help them. So I ask the question again today. I make the statement. Women, you're not the price. You should select the price. And I challenge our intelligentsia, or educated women, Gino, and all these women organization, that every time you have a crime of rage and passion, they have some choreographed outbursts to educate our young people. Make them know the invaluable nature of relationship and family. And we should have strong families. And to educate our young women and make them know you're not the price, but you must choose the price. And you must understand that is in your interest. That you don't let the diamonds turn to brass too quick. Because when the diamonds turn to brass, it is not that valuable. When you see a man with a diamond ring, he's showing it off. You have a gold band around the head. Some people paint it in brass gold. You're looking like gold and they're showing off. And every time you see them with a brass bracelet, they tell you they have it for the coal. Because they know it is not as valuable. So we have to encourage our young women. Don't let diamond turn to brass too quick. And educate them that they are not the price. But they should be wise enough to choose the price. We want to thank you. This is one of our midweek programs. And we want to encourage you to share our program. We just provoke discussion. We believe that these topics, we should discuss it and we provoke discussion. So subscribe to Studio Galaxy 473. Give us a like and share our program. You have absolutely nothing to lose and you will let local content grow. Thank you very much.
Russians and Chinese and lucky like we. Rand and North Korea wish they had it too. Most of the Caribbean lucky like we. Studio Galaxy Day for you and me. Blow your shell, beat your drum, tell others. Like and share, subscribe and discuss.